Well, hello there, motherfuckers. And I said that I was going to do a prequel video. I was going to talk a little bit about the prequel movies, and that's exactly what I'm going to do right here, right now. So I'm seeing Star Wars for a second time. I still promise I'm going to re-review it. Anything that I didn't catch the first time around, I'm going to state in the second review. But yeah, the prequels, I said I liked them, and I'm standing by that. And I always get into arguments with people. Oh, how could you enjoy the prequels? The prequels are satanic. They're evil. You say you like them, and people just outrage. They act like you don't have any taste in movies. When actually, I feel that I have a better taste in movies because I do like the prequels, because I have some really good reasons. I have a ton of good reasons exactly why I enjoy them. Uh, I believe that all Star Wars movies are incredible for the fact that they bring forth imaginative worlds that can't be seen anywhere else. And the prequels are just that. Now, I've seen people try to make shit up and try to say that the worlds aren't imaginative and that they're bland. And that's just not the truth. Man, it's not the truth by a long shot. They're very imaginative. I've seen people knock Naboo and say that it's boring looking when actually it's very majestic and the architecture is actually quite beautiful. And the amount of time that they put in to making this scenery, it's kind of disrespectful in a way for people to really say this about the films. They feel that it's unoriginal and uninspired when it's really anything but. It's actually quite beautiful and breathtaking. Um, Towards the end of the first movie, the celebration for episode one, you got to say that during the parade, everything just looks marvelous in this movie. And we'll just start, just I'm not sure if I'm going to say just generally what I enjoy about it, but maybe do movie by movie. So, episode one, what I disliked about it obviously was Jar Jar and Darth Maul dying at the end, and Qui Gon not living on, and these are pretty much just small complaints, things that were just decisions and not really anything involving quality. I mean, could they have maybe increased the quality of the other two prequel films? Perhaps, but they did go their own way, and I did enjoy them for what they were. But episode one, though, I really enjoy Qui Gon's character. Ewan McGregor does a great job. I didn't really hate Jake Lloyd that much as other people did. They give him a lot of shit, and I think he did just fine. People make the arguments that they saw the auditions for other children, other child actors, and they said that they think that uh, they could have done a better job, and I don't really buy that at all. I don't really think that they could have done better than Jake Lloyd. I think he did an okay job. I really did. I thought that it was just a fine performance, and he's a kid. Anakin's acting like a kid. He's not really going to display that much of the Anakin we would come to know because he's a child. And that's not to say that child actors are not good at portraying emotions and just any type of thing that would be required in acting. But needless to say, there really wasn't a lot for Anakin to really act like the Anakin Skywalker that becomes Darth Vader. He's a kid. Sure, kids can be more mischievous. Um, and we don't really see the angry side of Anakin. We did see an angry side of Anakin in the deleted scene where he kind of has a little scuffle with Greedo, but they cut that out. But perhaps maybe they could have done something like that to show the potential for Anakin's anger and the potential for him to become bad or turn to the dark side. But overall, there's so much iconic imagery in this movie. Now the acting. Now we could say that a lot of the quips and one-liners, they're not as solid as really any of the original trilogy movies. And that pretty much, if someone were to say that, that is an acceptable argument. The dialogue is nowhere as good, but the I think the characters are solid. The characters are iconic. You look at a close up of Darth Maul when those bay doors open on Naboo in the hangar. Uh, you know that you're gonna remember that face for quite some time. The lightsaber battle's great. Qui Gon gets struck down, and you feel it emotionally. The fucking Duel of the Fates, an amazing score. Episode one is maybe one of my favorite movie scores of all time. Without a doubt, it's incredible, and I enjoyed the movie. Now, the argument about Jar Jar. Now, first of all, I think Jar Jar's home, can't say world, but territory underneath the swamp, when they're swimming to Otaganga. Tell me that that is not breathtaking CGI. That is some of the best CGI I think I've ever seen in my life. Just them coming upon that whole underwater place is just it's spectacular looking. Now, Jar Jar isn't even in most of the film, really, when you think about it. There's a lot of times when you don't see him. He's not in every single part of the film. He really isn't, he's not talking in every scene. Really, if you splice it all up, he's only in about 30% of the movie, perhaps even less than that. I don't think he really gets in the way as much as a lot of people claim. Now, when he is on screen, it's pretty fucking annoying. I have to admit, it is pretty annoying to see him there. He's a damn goofball. All the things we've heard, throughout the years now for the fucking 16 years that the movie's been out, everything we've heard is pretty much true. Jar Jar's annoying. He's an idiot. He's a goof. And any type of criticism that you make towards Jar Jar is pretty much true, but saying that it's the majority of the movie is just a downright lie. Could they have gotten somebody tougher besides the Gungans? Of course, they could have gotten somebody tougher than the Ewoks, but they always seem to fuck this up ever since Return of the Jedi. Why we can't get a cool, group of aliens? It always has to be something that we don't like or we can't get behind 100%. Now, I defend Ewoks to a point, and I have a pretty good argument for them. But we'll talk about that in an original trilogy video. I'll save that for another video, my Ewok argument. But I can't defend these Gungans. They're just annoying. They're stupid, and they're just unappealing even to look at. Their whole overall design is ugly. Now the Ewoks, there's something about their look that's is sort of appealing to a point, but because they look like little teddy bears, but there's nothing cute or adorable about Gungans at all. But I like this movie, and it stays engraved in my mind. There's just so much to like about it. There are things to dislike about them, and destroyer droids. They're awesome. I think that's one of the best droids ever to be designed. Dogs are going nuts. It's fucking chaos. Anyway, episode 2. What do I like better, episode 1 or episode 2? That is hard to decide. I think I slightly like episode 1 a little bit better. The romance is pretty damn lame in this. That is one thing I can't defend about this movie. I don't like the scenes with the romance. The lines that were written, the dialogue, it's pretty fucking atrocious. Now, the war scenes, the fight on Camino in the rain with Jango Fett, the droid army going against the clone army in the fucking Coliseum, those are all things of pure beauty. Now, I've seen a lot of people complain about different things. I like Christopher Lee's Tyrannus, Count Dooku, whatever the fuck you want to call him. I would rather have had Darth Maul return, but Christopher Lee is a screen legend, and I enjoyed seeing him. And the opening to this movie is just fucking fantastic. Just falling through the fucking air on Coruscant is amazing. So there's a lot to like about this movie. I don't think it. I have a really tough time saying what I like better, 1 or 2, but I enjoy this. It's just that fucking love relationship. The thing is so damn lame, cheesy, and corny, and everything they said about it is 100% true. Now on to episode 3. This is the best one. It's the best by a long shot. Anakin's fall of the dark side is great. They bashed the dialogue in this one, but it's I think it's pretty damn good. Once again, it's not original trilogy quality, but it's pretty fucking fantastic. I won't say fantastic, but it's pretty good. Yeah, I enjoy the epic lightsaber battle at the end. I really do. I think it's the perfect turn to the dark side. Anakin slaughtering younglings. This is something that a lot of people are split on, but I think it's amazing and it's so well shot. And they don't show him killing the kids, of course, but just Master Anakin, what do we do? And then just a lightsaber going on. It's great. It's menacing. He's evil. There's that shot of Anakin on Mustafar with the fucking robe and the red eyes. And there's also this amazing scene in the movie that's so depressing. It depresses me, but in a good way, where I feel emotional, like this movie is sucking me in. It's this scene where Anakin and Padme are on different ends of Coruscant, and they're looking out on their balconies, and they could sort of feel each other almost. Perhaps Anakin feeling her through the Force, and Padme in a more emotional way, feeling out for Anakin. And this beautiful piece by that legend John Williams plays. It's another great movie. So just all encompassing. The prequels have a lot to like about them. There's so much to enjoy. There's an overabundance of CGI in them. Could they have used less? Could they have gone for more animatronics instead of trying so heavily to try to do everything, incarnation, everything under the sun in CGI? Absolutely. There's so many things that they could have just used with animatronics. Not everything had to be CGI'd up the ass. And there's a few usages of animatronics in this, but they're very few and far between them. And I can't even really think off the top of my head. It's like all CGI pretty much, and a lot of it looks really good. It does, but it kind of goes overboard. Now you can't say they're lazy because Industrial Light and Magic really were the ones who developed a lot of the CGI that you saw here, and would go on to be further developed or used or pretty much copied by other companies for other movies. So these movies are inspiring as well. Episode 1 inspired a legion of directors and producers and graphic designers and just anybody who works on visuals and movies or movies in general got their ideas from episode 1. They were blown away by just the sheer level of technology displayed in those movies. And it's just there's a lot to like about these prequels. And I have come to terms with some of the more crappy sides of them, but there's just too much to like. These movies are too appealing, and maybe it's just a personal thing that I enjoy these. But when you compare them to other movies, see, that's the thing. I think a lot of people hold these movies to a higher standard because they have the Star Wars name, and they know that movies like Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope are of such great quality that they expect the same thing from them. So when they didn't live up to the exact quality of those, they fall short. But when you compare them to other movies that are released, think about all the movies released on an annual basis. The prequels look pretty damn good in comparison to many of those movies. Now, I also heard a counter argument. I forgot who this was. This was somebody off of YouTube that I was discussing with. Forgot exactly who I was talking to, but they shot back at me and they kind of misunderstood what I said when I began to talk about that particular argument. They said, "Oh yeah, they're held to a higher standard because it's Star Wars, and if those movies weren't Star Wars and it was a different movie that was just similar, it wouldn't be considered as good." Interesting perspective, but that's not exactly what I mean. I think they're held to a higher standard because this is Star Wars, and if they're not as good, this is like an argument about like Metallica albums or Megadeth albums. Such a good artist, but if one album is not as good as the last, everybody loses their minds because they have so many, great things to their name. When something is not of optimal quality, people will lose their minds. And I think that the quality is pretty high for these films. There's just some things that bring it down, and people notice it, and then they begin to pick at every little thing. And I think that it's a lot of picking. A lot of people just don't sit back. But the funny thing is about a lot of these movies is that you've watched them probably hundreds of times to pick out these small things, which means that the movie is very appealing to you. And you actually take joy in watching these movies to pick the things out. So that means the movie is very effective. Very effective. It's very effective indeed, because if you're going back, if this movie has you double dipping, triple dipping, 80 times dipping back into this movie to watch it, is appealing. And the director, George Lucas, has done something extremely well. Now, did J.J. Abrams do a better job than Lucas? He did, but admittedly so. But Lucas also did quite the job if he got you to come back for multiple viewings of this. Even if you said that it was bad, that's mostly because that is popular belief on the internet, popular belief in general. So you're going to try to go along with it. You don't want to seem like the outcast, the only person who enjoys the prequels. But I know a lot of people that do enjoy prequels, and a lot of my friends also agree with me. The real life ones, not the YouTube ones. I'm sure there's a couple of people on YouTube who also agree with me on this. So if you do enjoy the prequels, state it down here. I'm also, as I think of more things, I'm going to make more videos about the prequels, and I will do another video about the original trilogy, because I didn't get to say a lot of everything I wanted to say. I got to think a little bit more on this, but those are a lot of my reasons for it. I think that the prequels show us that these are some creative worlds that we're not going to be able to see anywhere else. People make the arguments that these characters aren't that memorable as the original trilogy, but they still are memorable. Where can you see characters that look like this? Where can you see worlds that look like this? Where you see a story that looks like this? Now, the Trade Federation thing and, trade embargoes and stuff, that stuff, I could see the arguments for that. And Hello Greedo, which is a great Star Wars channel, go subscribe to him, also discussed that. The opening crawl for episode 1 about taxation and trade federations is that is a little bit un-Star Warsy, and sounds more like some fucking CNN C-SPAN bullshit. But we'll talk about that in another video. But the story, overall is pretty good for episode 1. It's decent. It's just some weird additions, some weird choices. Like I said, not a perfect movie, but all of them are pretty great movies. They're pretty fucking good. Are they perfect? No, but are they likable? Hell fucking yeah. So we'll do some more videos on this in the future. I'll touch on multiple topics. If you people, request, if you want to hear me talk about something specific, give my opinion on it within the universe, tell me about it, because I will. I'll be more than happy to discuss any topics, or what more do you people want to hear me talk about on here. So feeling kind of Star Warsy, so go ahead, hit me with those requests. I'm willing to do whatever. All right.